No, I'll just stand here. Good morning. I'm honored to be here today. I want to thank Vi for inviting me. I had an old lady relative. We really honor our elders in our villages, and when she thought that, well, English was her second language, and when she thought that people were very intelligent, she would call them big, fat, brainy heads. So I'm honored to be among all these big, fat, brainy heads. I'm going to talk about my experience with my son, Logan. I'm a mother of 5 sons, and Logan is my youngest, and there he is. He's very beautiful. That's his service dog. Logan has an extremely difficult life, and I am honored to be his mother. I really was moved by the presentation that we just heard, and I can look back on my pregnancy with Logan, and I can see things that happened and in his life to make him have such a difficult journey. I have 4 sons before Logan, and they're all handsome, and I'm very blessed. They're big, fat, brainy heads. My husband and I had a wonderful time of raising them. 3 of them are married and have beautiful wives and children. I live in a very beautiful part of Alaska, and our lifestyle is unique, and I love being who I am and what I do. I love that I can teach centuries-old ways of traditional gathering foods and preserving foods, and I love to see the excitement in our youth when I teach them how to gather edible roots and edible greens, and when I was pregnant with Logan, in the village we are by law ordered to leave when we are 8 months pregnant, and it's a really exciting time for me and for other pregnant ladies. We go to prematernal homes in different parts of the state in each region where you're from. And it's a time of, I love staying in a prematernal home. You go there when you're 8 months pregnant and with women from your region, and if you're high risk, you're sent to a prematernal home in Anchorage, and it's like a dormitory full of pregnant ladies, and there's nothing more fun. You don't have to cook, and our meals are prepared for us, and on Saturdays I volunteered to teach classes on making, we call these atigis or kaspuks in our region, and just a wonderful time. When I was pregnant with Logan, a few things happened where I can see why today he suffers from severe autism. During the summer of my pregnancy, we had some wildfires, and the smoke was very thick. I'm not an expert or a big fat brainy head, but I can look back and see some things that happened. And then when I was at the prematernal home, there was an incident where 4 of us got food poisoning, and we had to be put in the hospital, and I was given high doses of Phenergan, very high doses. And I kept asking the doctors, is it going to hurt my baby? And they said, no. And then he was born, and he was a normal, beautiful baby. He had a normal life until he developed normally, and when he was 2, he was talking, and he hit all the milestones correctly. And he was my 5th son, so in the villages, back then we didn't have public health nurses, and the public health nurse would travel and come in, and Logan, I can see now, had a very low immune system by things that happened to me during my pregnancy. And he was always getting ear infections, and it was a concern to me. And when the public health nurse came to the village to give our baby shots, I didn't want her to because he had an ear infection, and she said that was fine, that we can catch up on the next trip. And so when Logan, in February of 2002, our lives drastically changed. And I'm not blaming the public health nurse. I just wish I had known the risks. I had a call at home that it was time for my baby to have his immunizations. And he was behind, so I talked to the traveling doctor who was in, and the public health nurse who was in the village for a few days, and it was okay. I was told for him to have 5 shots at once to catch up, and I didn't want to, and I refused to, and I brought him back home. And then the last day they were there, they called me, and I went over to the clinic, and the traveling doctor gave me a book on how safe immunizations are and told me to go home and read it, and it was my choice. He didn't pressure me, but at the last minute before they left, after I talked with my husband, I decided to go ahead and do it. I didn't know that my life would turn into a living hell. My beautiful son. That night he developed a high fever of 106, and then we medevac to the hospital in Nome. And when his fever broke, he slept for 4 days straight. And when he woke up, he had lost everything: speech, balance, sight. I never knew about traumatic brain injury. I had to learn fast. I never heard of autism. My beautiful son. Today he's 16 and he wears diapers and he's nonverbal. He struggles with sounds. He's overstimulated. He can't sleep at night. He's always full of anxiety. He struggles with puberty. My beautiful baby. My life revolves around taking care of him, and I wasn't sure if I could make it here. His service dog there next to him had drastically helped me and my husband in our lives. He's trained to take care of Logan and to guide him when he walks, and thank you. Anyway, I never knew about toxins or the dangers of too much chemicals, and even how fragile our children are when we're carrying them. I learned all of these things quickly by taking care of my precious son. I have to advocate for him. All the time. I'm known as the crazy mom. I wasn't real sure what I was going to talk about. But having lived through and living through it now, I now know how important it is, and can tell the young moms in my community and in my region how vital it is to be aware when you're pregnant of harmful toxins or medications, or even if someone in a position above you, someone in a position that says it's okay, that we have our own voice. I really want young women to be able to speak for themselves and protect their unborn child, and then to advocate for our children in the villages. I fought so hard that now we do have public health nurses in we have one in Unalakleet. Things have changed. When Logan became severely autistic and our life spiraled out of control and we couldn't do things anymore, we couldn't gather our foods and the things that I love to do, I couldn't work. Logan would just hurt himself, spin, not sleep, throw himself against the wall constantly, head bang. We became very exhausted parents, and one private joke my husband and I had with each other was we would lean on each other and he would say, "We'll sleep when we die." But we've learned to, I've learned how to, I've tried everything, and I now know that I tried to help Logan with his gut issues. He has really huge intestinal problems, and try to feed him the right foods and probiotics, and his life is much better than, but I've had to really fight to, where did it go? Anyway, my story is my story, but it's hundreds of mothers like me, thousands. Behind closed doors, we all live the same life. I just happen to live in a isolated village in northern Alaska. I didn't know what I was going to be sharing or I'm very, very thankful for this gathering, and I've learned so much yesterday and today, and I'm very blessed by all of you. And I love being a mom. Logan is a huge blessing to me, as hard as our lives is. That picture is him in the clinic with a village health aide. She's sitting there. I'm real thankful for all the people that help. I just wanted to share how important it is how fragile our children are in the womb, and how fragile they are, and how we as parents need to protect them. And how things like this can happen. Logan is very precious, and by the grace of God, I live day to day with the help of that dog there, Juke, who has retired now, and we're getting a new one. I was able to live somewhat of a normal life again. There's people in the world who spend hours and hours and hours of trying to help children with disabilities. And Juke is highly trained to take care of Logan, keep him calm, have him sleep. When we first got our dog Juke, it was the first time we ever slept in years, and it was like a dream come true. Just having a warm, comfort, furry friend. It was Logan's first friend ever, because he has a hard time. He doesn't talk, and he doesn't like being touched, and it's because of his sensory disorder. But for some reason, dogs really bring comfort to children with autism, and so, oh man, it was wonderful to sleep. Wow. I caught up for not sleeping for maybe 10 years straight. When we first got Juke, it was like a dream. Right now, Juke just retired, and he moved to Willow, to Dee Dee John Rowe, and the musher. And we're getting a new dog in November. And Logan is having a difficult time right now through this transition period. But it's people like you and the work that you do that are going to make changes so that this doesn't happen anymore. And it is people like you who will make the difference. And I thank you.